Okay, so I was born in 1918 in Brooklyn, New York, of parents who were immigrants from Eastern Europe. My grandfathers on both sides one came from Lvov, what was then the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Another one came from a city called Bialystok, which was probably Poland or Lithuania, around there. And they came in 1890. My parents were both children then, very young children. I was born just as the World War I ended, when the flu epidemic was sweeping through the world. My mother had flu at that time and was left with permanently damaged respiratory tract. But she lived a long life, but it was a problem for her. I went to public schools in Brooklyn. They were, by modern standards, I suppose, pretty good. But they didn't make much of an impression on me, except for chemistry in high school. The only thing I remember about my early schooling, because that made such an impression on me.
How come? What did it
That
do?
there were atoms, that the world around me was made up of atoms and molecules. That seemed like almost extraordinary.
So
and
that's,
I began to see things in terms that way.
before we move on with you, what did your parents do?
My father was in the garment industry, a small-scale manufacturer. I think he did well. My mother was a homemaker. She had 4 children, which in those days meant a pretty full-time, heavy-duty job. My father did very well during the 1920s. Then came the Depression, and times were really very hard indeed. But we were never, I would say, in a state where food was a problem. So we survived. Everybody around us was in the same state, so we didn't think of ourselves as being particularly impoverished.